Welcome to this lesson, and in today's lesson we are going to be creating Figma variables and color styles. So we're going to be continuing from the previous lesson of understanding color tokens and color variables. So we are going to be creating our color styles like this. We're going to be creating our color styles like this, and we're also going to be having a Figma variable system like this, right? Using the 3-tier approach: primitive, alias, and semantics. So we're going to be doing this together. Now, to get started, I have already selected colors we're going to be working with. So we have purple, we have our gray color, we have our red color, we have our green color. Now, for the sake of this lesson, I'm just going to be using these four, right? This is most likely what you would see your situation would have. You most likely have, right now I don't have any warning color, so yours will most likely contain a warning color. You might have more than one brand color. One could be a primary color, the other one could be secondary color, but I'm just sticking with one for the sake of this class, right? And lesson. So let's get started. I'm also going to be referring to this blog post I made, and I will make sure I attach a link to this in the description, because this is also going to be serving as a guide. So remember, we're using the tree analogy, and we're working with the 3-tier approach, which is first of all setting our primitives, then we go on to alias, and then semantics. So let's get started. Now, for this to work, I'm going to be manually creating the color styles, right? Manually creating the color styles so that you know how to do it yourself without the use of any plugins, tools, or AI. Now, for this to work, we need to have, so I'm just going to bring this here. I'm just going to bring this here. Then I'm going to color pick. Make sure that this is the same color. This is our brand color. This is our brand color. Right, this is the brand color. Yeah, this is the brand color, and this is the main base color. Now, when creating your color styles usually range from color 100 all the way to color 900, right? Now, with this, color 500 or color 400 is usually going to be your base color. Now, for this lesson, 500 is my color 500 is my base and foundation color. So looking at this example, for example, you will see here, I've always used 500 as my base color, right? Now, if I have, for example, color 50, if I have, for example, color 50, and if I have, for example, color 25, right? 500 could still be my base color, or 400 could be my base color, but whichever one, that's fine. But please note that you start off 100, which is the lowest, all the way to the darkest, 900. So meaning 100 is my lightest color and 900 is my darkest color. You can also and always go lighter, and I can mention the 2 stages lighter you can go is you could go 75, you could go 75, you could go 50, you could go 25. 25 is usually the lightest you could go. So, but for this, I'm just going to keep it 100 to 900, and this is how the system works, creating it manually. So you're going to need two things for this to work, which is one, your color box, your main color box, and then a white background. You can see a plain white background, and then your color. So you layer it on it together. Then you do the same thing, duplicate it, color box, and then a black background, right? And then a black background. That's all you need, right? Let me just make sure that it's the same height, width, rather. That's all you need for this to work. So now this is our middle ground. So we're going to go lighter upwards and then darker, dark shades down. Another way to think about it is tints. So another thing about is tints. Tints can be referred to as the light version of your main color. So this can be referred to as tints. And then the bottom part can be referred to as shades. Shades can be seen as the dark version of your colors. So tints and shades, and this is the middle ground. All right, so let's get this to work. So you duplicate this, we're going tint, and we're going dark at the same time. So I'm just going to click this out for now because we're going to be editing it later. So for this to work, we're creating scales. So we're going to be changing the opacity of this as we progress. So first thing we're going to do is, since we're going lighter, now just a quick summary of how this works is we're either going to be doing 20% opacity, 40% opacity, 60% opacity, and 80% opacity. And then from there, the last one is going to be 100% opacity. So that's how it works, and that's how the scale is going to work. So we're starting from the base and we're going lighter all the way to the lightest. So imagine this is 100%. Imagine this is 100%. This right here is 100%. What would be the one step lighter version? If this is 100, this will most likely be 80. So we're going to change this opacity to 80%. And then we'll come here, click on it, get your color picker, and then select. And now we have our 80% value. So let me just also shift this again and make it, let's get, so that this is, so you understand this is 100% opacity. I'll give you an example, right? So we're going to be going lower for tint. Now this is 80%. Now what do you think this would be? Right, this also would be 80%. So let's do the same thing here. So 80% is going to give us a slightly darker version. As you can see, it's already looking one shade darker. So 80%. Now the next thing we're going to be doing is taking it one more step, and then this is going to be what? 60. %. So click on it, get your color picker, and then select the color. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Same 60%. I'm going to come here, hold on to 60, select, get a color picker, and 60. Then the next one is going to be 40. Now if you notice, we're doing it in, our scale is in 20s, right? So this is this is going to be 40. This is going to be 40. Yes, so this is 40, 20. Now the scale difference here is minus 20%, right? So the difference between 40 and 60 is 20. So we're moving in 20 scale difference. right? So this between the difference between 60 and 80 is 20. The difference between 80 and 100 is 20. Now, that is what we are using to achieve what we need to achieve. Additional note is you can choose to use 10 if you want to get more tints and shades, right? If you use 10, you'll be able to get 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, right? You'll be able to get more tints and shades. But for a standard approach, 20 is just fine. So we're going to come here, change this to 40. Select this color picker, right? As you can see, we're progressively going lighter. And then this is going to be 40. Change this up to 40. And then finally we would have our last one, which is 20. And the reason it's the last one is because anything following our scale difference, anything after 20 is 0. So okay. So we have this, we're going to make it 20. Select, and you can see. So imagine anything less than this is practically going to be white. Because if you do this and then we do 0, as you can see, that's now white. Now if I want more, if I do want more, I could do 10. I could go from that and I go 10. And I'll be able to have this. As you can see, I'll be able to have this. So this now is 10. Right. Okay. So now let's do for the shade. This is going to be 20%. It's going to be 20%. Select, make this 20. And there we go. You can see significantly darker. We could stop here, or we could do one more, and it's going to be 10%. Because if you do 20, it's going to be, that's practically black, right? So if you do minus 20, that's 0, that's practically black. So we're just going to go 10. So this is going to be the darkest version. All right, so there we have it. Everything all set and done. Now let's assign the colors. So this is actually not going to be primary. This is going to be the brown color is purple, right? And the reason why this is purple is because it's primitive. Example, right? For primitive tokens, we have our main hex codes, right? So we're going to also call them in the raw color forms. Identifying them as brand or primary, secondary is already associating them with some form of alias. There's nothing wrong. You don't have to overcomplicate it, or you don't have to be very strict with it. But I'm just trying to like follow the 3-tier approach very strictly. So I'll call this purple 500 because this is also what will translate into our Figma variables. So purple 500 is our base. What this now means is this is going to be purple 400, right? And then we're going to get the hex code for this, which is this. change it up to this. Then next we have purple 300, and get a hex code. And then next we have purple 200, get the hex code. Then we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes. This is purple 100. And then we get the hex code. Now there's one more, right? Now, because we just have one more step lighter, this is going to be this could either be my purple, this would most likely be my purple 50, right? Yes, my purple 50, light version. Because we just have the skill is just 10, so that matches. Now I could also choose to make it my purple 25, but why this is not going to be kind of like the best identification is because 25 to 100 is a larger scale in terms of the color scale in comparison to 50 and 100, because practically we only just moved 10%. We only just moved 10, right? Which we've been moving 20, which is like 2 steps, and but here we only 1 step. So 25 seems like a far scale compared to the move of this color scale to this color scale. So 50 is the best, is the most appropriate identification here. So we're going to get the color code here. So I'm going to do all the same thing now for the shades that we have here. So this is going to be color 600, purple 600 rather. And just get this. Yes, 600, 700. Okay. This is 800. This is 900. Then this is not going to be 1000. No, it's going to be 950. 950. Okay, there we have it, all done and complete. So I'm just going to move this here because this is all complete now. Then I'll delete this. Oh no, I'll still keep it just for the sake of this class as reference, right? So you can see. So now in terms of our color, we have 10, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, right? In terms of like opacity percent of the color, how it's moving. Then in terms of our primitive color identification. We have purple 500, purple 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, which is the base. Then we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 950, which is our darkest. And this is how you create your color scales. Now I'm going to do one more. Which is going to be, which one's interesting? I'll do the red. And we'll speed up the rest of the process for the other two. So I'm just going to repeat this process again, just so that everything is really, really clear. So pick the same color. Make sure that the opacity is set to 100. Good. I'll change this to red 500, so base color. Right. And then remember we have our tints all the way up, shades all the way down. Right. Now, to make this even faster, we can just duplicate and go on. So this is 500, this is 400, 300, 200, 150. Right. And then this is 500, 600, 7. Hold on. So this is 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 950. Right? So we have everything set. Okay. So again, middle here. And just in case this may confuse you, I usually just like to have an indicator that, okay, this is the middle, right? Correct. So let's go. So select both of them, starting off with 80. So this, good. And then 400, 600. Next we're going 60. This, which is 300, and this is 700. Then we have 40. Which is red 200, and red let me just be really sure that I picked the, yes, then this is red 800, and then we have 20. Red 100, and red 900. And then finally, we're going to do one more step, which is 10. We're just going to go 10. And this will be our red 50. Okay, and then this is going to be our red 950. Okay, so all I need to do now is just use the right hex code. No. Use the right hex code here. And this 700. $600. Then main base. Then 400. Then we have for 300. And we have for 200. We have 100. And finally, we have our 50. So there we go. Color skills done and done. Right? Nice, simple, and easy. So we're just gonna have this here. So this is our first layer. What is my, sorry, give me a second. 44. So 44. Hold on. Okay, yes. So we have, let me move this down a little. So we have these two color styles set, and something is missing. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 50. Why are they not in the same? I really can't tell. Okay, I think it's, hold on. Yes. So 44. Okay. Yeah. Resolved. All right. So what this means for us now is we have set our first set of primitive tokens. Now we've not put this in Figma variables yet, but this is basically how it's going to run, right? So the raw primitive identification of this is purple, right? So this is purple. This is purple. This is red. Because remember, primitives tokens, they have no meaning, right? This is the foundation layer of your color system, right? It is just a color value, nothing more. So FFF is white. That is what it is. So in as much as this purple is your brown color, the primitive identification of your brown color is purple. In as much as this red is going to be our error state color, this is going to be the primitive identification is just simply red, right? So take note. Now I'm going to speed up the process and do for the grayscales and do for the gray and the green. So I'm just going to skip over to when it's done. Now, the first part is done. As you can see, we have all our color scales ready. Purple, red, green, gray. This is our primitive color scales set. Primitive color scales set, right? Now we're going to move into the next part, which is putting it into Figma variables. And then we're going to go into setting our alias token, which is tier 2. So creating a Figma variables, very, very, very straight to the point and easy. So click on create. What we're doing is creating our color variables. So we'll set our colors. Now the collection we're setting up is primitive, right? Primitive. So we're setting up our primitive color tokens. We'll call it primitive color tokens or just primitives, but for the sake of this lesson, I'll call it primitive color tokens. And what we're going to be doing here is also very simple. Let me show I can see this in full view. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to basically recreate all we have here into our Figma variables, right? So let me explain what that means. So right now we're going to call this purple slash we're actually not going to use slash because using slash means we want to create a folder. We're creating like a folder. So this is what it means. If you do purple 50, what it means is we're going to have a main folder called purple and an actual file called 50. I like to use folders and files to explain this because it's one of the easiest ways to understand how to use your slash. So another example, if we should do, let's say green slash green slash success slash 50. Now what this means is we're going to have if we click enter, but if I tap enter on my keyboard, it means green is going to be the main folder, and inside that main folder we're going to have another folder called success, and then the last file is going to be 50. So what this means is the last thing at the last thing at the end of the slash is going to be the file. Every other thing is going to be folders. So if I have 50 slash 20, it means 20 will be the file, 50 will be a folder that 20 is going to be inside, and everything is going to be inside a success folder, and everything is now also going to be inside a green, like a folder called green, right? So if I hit enter now, you can see. So we have green, success, and inside success we have 50, right? But I'm just going to delete this. That's not what I'm going to do. Now, for this, right, you could choose to go purple 50, right? You could choose to go purple 50 with your name, or you might not, but I think I'm just going to go with just 50, right? Because everything is going to be inside this folder. And then I'm going to just quickly duplicate. So to duplicate, you want to hit shift you want to hit shift on your keyboard. I'm just going to do this again. Hold shift on your keyboard and enter, so that is shortcut to duplicate this as much as you can. So okay, so we're going to go 50, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, and then shift enter for Windows users. For Mac users, shift return on your keyboard. That will be 950. All right, so there we have it. So like I said, we're basically recreating this. So you can see purple repeats itself everywhere. Now all that we have is just the actual numbers. Now we're going to start putting the codes, the hex codes. So you could simply copy and paste, or you click or double click on the color pick and select. I like to use the color pick method, right, because I get, and then you can always double check that the codes are the same, so there's no mistake in case Figma might be buggy. So always verify that you have the same color code. And then 400, 500. Remember, 500 is our base, right? Now you see some design systems or color systems that they'll most likely call this default, right? It means the same thing. So you could call this base, you could call this default, you could call this, another way you could also call this is main, right? So main, default, base is all just to identify this was the original color that we built the rest of the scale from. So we're going to use main here. Then for 600, select, ensure that the codes are correct. If you don't want to be double checking, you can always just pick the color code right directly. Is that we are sure. 900, and then 950. Good. So there we have it. We have created our first primitive color scales, purple. Now we're going to do this and pretty much duplicate. Right, we're going to duplicate this because the next one we're doing now is red. So we're going to rename this red. Everything here stays the same. Only thing we're changing is our hex codes. So that is what we're going to be doing. Starting on 50, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 as a mean, and then 700, 800, 900, and last 950. Fantastic. See, from here now it feels very easy and fast. So duplicate, hit shift and return on your keyboard if you're using Mac, enter if you're using Windows. Oh, sorry, mistake. I'm duplicating this entire folder. So right click on your mouse, or trackpad, whichever way to double click, then duplicate. Next thing is going to be green, and we are just going to continue the system. So 50, 100, 300, 400, and here we have our base color. 600, 700, 800, 900. And then we have our last one for this lesson. Already, if you click on all, right, you can see how everything is shaping out. We have our purple, we have our red, we have our green, looking really nice and organized, like looks really good. Then we duplicate group. Last one is going to be our grays, right? Gray. Now, okay, we repeat the process. $300, $400. Then we have our base. Then we have 600. And then we have 700. 800, 900, 950. Done. Now, we're done, but not done. One thing to note is when creating your color skills, something that you don't create as a skill but is required in your color token, your color system, is black, pure black and pure white, which are base colors. Now, a very easy way to add this is going to be in your gray skills, in your gray color skills. So this is going to be black, right? And we're going to just make sure that it is black all the way, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then we're going to do another one. And this is, we're going to call this one white. And we're going to make sure this is pure white. Right. Now, you could choose to leave it in your gray skills, or you could choose to keep it separate. Do I have it here? Okay, I have them here. Sometimes I do have like a whole new sometimes I do have a whole new like group, and I just call it base colors, right? Base. Oh, I'm actually going to do this. When I think about it, I'm actually going to do this, but this is going to be in when we're setting our alias. So delete group. Right. So in your primitive gray, do not forget to add your white and your black. Your pure white and your pure black. And in case you're wondering, why do I need a pure black and a pure white? You truthfully, you might choose not to use it for all that you do, but instances where you might use your pure white would be page color. It could be certain background colors. It could also come in certain cards as well that you don't want to have a light gray. Then for black, you might want to use it in certain overlays or shadows. Right, now we have our primitive color set. Let's move on to our alias. Now for alias, this is where we give nicknames to our primitive value. So example, hex code FFF is going to be called white. Hex code 22C55E can be called success. So now let's see what that looks like here. So I'm going to close this up for a bit. Now, these are primitive values: purple, red, green, gray. As you can see here, we have purple, red, green, gray. All right, so we're going to create a new collection. I'm going to call this alias. Alias color tokens, right? Now before we start creating that, what would that mean? So alias here now would be, this would now be primary. The alias to this is, the alias to purple is primary. The alias to red is error. You can also think of it as nickname. The nickname to green is going to be success, right? The nickname to gray is going to be neutral or neutrals, right? So this automatically is our alias identifiers, right? So we're going to do that here now. So we'll create so let's get an example of what that looks like, right? So for example, this is primitive of, let's click here, all. You can see purple, pink, blue, right, all of that. Now for the alias, this is what it looks like. We have our primary, right? Primary blue. We have our secondary pink. We have our warning. We have our success. We have our error. So now let's create that versions for ourselves. And I think what I want to do to make this super fast is I'm going to, let me see, can I duplicate this collection? Oh, I can't duplicate this collection. All right, so we're just going to have to create fresh. So what we're doing is primary first. Let's see. So we're doing primary first. So again, we're going to have a main folder called primary. Right, in that folder, we're going to have a file called 100, right? And that's it. So primary 100. And now with alias, we're going to be linking our alias colors to the primitive, because I am teaching the 3-tier approach. The 2-tier approach, this will just be me beginning to identify my semantic values. But because for this lesson, I'm teaching a 3-tier approach, so that's why we're setting our alias color tokens right now. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 6, 7, 8, 9, 950, and there's one more that I did not consider, which is the 50, which is 50. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, right? 600. Now I'll also say identify this as mean, just so I don't ever mix it up. $900, $950. So now we're not selecting for this. We're not selecting our color values from what we have here. No. In fact, you might not even need to even see that anymore, and this could just be full screen now, because we're selecting our color values from our primitive. So you're going to click on the color, you click on it, you come to libraries, and then there you have it. Right, this is it. So we're going to be linking each one together. So we've identified that our primary color is the purple. So we'll link primary 50 to purple 50, and then we'll link primary 100 to purple 100. We'll link primary 200 to purple 200, and we repeat this process all the way to the end. So this is going to be 300, this is going to be 400, this is going to be 500, this is going to be 600, this is going to be 7, $800, 900. Now, in case you're wondering why are we even doing this, you should check out the lesson about understanding color tokens. I explained everything there. So yes, we're done with our primary. Now the next token that we need to do is neutrals. I'll do neutrals. So let me see, I can duplicate this group, duplicate, and then this is going to be my neutrals. And now we're going to be linking everything now to gray. So move all the way to 50. 100, 200, 400. At the same time, you could also search, right? 600. You could do gray 700, gray 800, and then gray 900, gray 950. Great, done. Now you could add your white and black here, or if you want to be a little extra, duplicate this group. I call this base. Then I'm just gonna call this white. and then I'm just going to search for white, and click on this, hold shift, click here, delete, and then this will be black, and then I search black, make sure it is gray black, and there we have it. So I have my neutrals on my base color. You could also keep it inside here. There's nothing wrong in this, but just wanted to show. All right, now what do we need to do next? I'm going to quickly run through to do the other ones, which we have, because our state color. No. I want the other one. Oh, yes. So arrow, right? So for arrow, we're using red 50. So we're just going to search red 100, red 200, red 300, red 400, red 500, red 600, 700, 800, 900, and 950. Right, so I'm going to move this one here. Okay, then duplicate this for success. Now, okay, success. So green 500, 100, green 200, green 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 950. Fantastic. Now, one thing I wanted to quickly mention is, say we have warning state, information state colors here. One thing, error color, success color, information color, what else? Warning, we have warning, error, success, information. Yes, one thing about these four colors is that they are state colors. So you could, in Figma variables, you could click on more than two groups. For example, these two, right? By clicking on one, holding shift and click on the second. Note that if you click on, let's say this, and then the other one, for example, let's say success is in between neutrals, but you want to just select error and success. If you hold shift and click on success, you select all three. For you to get it individually, I think you have to hold command or control to select them, if they're separated. But I always recommend, because what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to group them into one, so make sure they're close together. So shift together, right click, and then I would like to put them in a group. That was what I was trying to do. Put them in a group, but I can't do this here. I thought I'll be able to create a new group, but I can do that without any of this. So I'll just click on all, click on all, or click on create color variables. This is me being extra. You don't have to do this, right? So I'll call this state colors. No, sorry, state colors, right? Slash. Remember, state color is going to be the main folder, and I can just put anything, right? So now we have state colors. Now inside state colors, now what I can do inside state colors, I can move my arrow into state color. As you can see, by the time this highlight means it's inside it now, and I release. So now I have my arrow color inside state color, and I can move my success into it as well. Then all I'm just going to do is delete this one, delete variable. Yes, and there we have it. In our state colors, we have our error and success inside of it. If I had information, if I had any other thing, to be inside here, right? And yeah, so this is all the alias color tokens set from our primary to our state color error, state color success, neutrals, base. And the last thing here is for us to set semantic values. Now, I highly recommend you go through this article content I put together. It gives you a full breakdown of how everything works and common alias categories, like I mentioned. Like I said, I told you these are state colors. We have success, warning, error information. Neutrals, we have black, whites, and neutrals. Now for semantic token, right, it's pretty straightforward. Now for semantics, you are identifying roles, you're identifying and assigning roles to your colors, right? This is where you're going to be directly using it into your UI design. Now please note, you are not to use your primitive color tokens directly to your UI design. You are also, if you're using the 3-tier approach, you're also not going to use the alias tokens. You're going to only use your semantics tokens. If you're doing the 2-tier approach, from primitive, you just move straight into semantics, and you would never use the primitive color tokens directly in your UI design. Now, to ensure that this never happens, we're going to be adding a mode of scoping. So what we're going to do is we'll click on primitive color tokens, right? On primitive color tokens. Now I'm going to select every color in primitive. Every color in primitive, all of them, highlight all of them. And how did I do this? I selected the first color, the very first color, went all the way down, clicked on shift, click and hold on shift, click on the last one. Right, so everything I selected. Now I'll right click, and then I'm going to look for something called edit variables. Edit variables. Now click on it. Now this is called scoping. What scoping does is it allows you control how these color tokens and color variables will show across your Figma UI when you're interacting with it. Now I do not want to mistakenly click on my primitive color tokens. Right, let me show you exactly what I mean. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So let's create a rectangle, right? Now I want to select the color. I'll come here, and then as you can see, I can see my alias color tokens. And if I keep scrolling down, or let me just make it so you can see alias color tokens. You can see it looks really beautiful, by the way. But I can see my primitive right also. You can see I can select my primitive also, which I don't want to be doing, because you could make that mistake. You could be looking for, you could have the color in your head that you want to use, and you might mistakenly click on this and forget, and it could mess up like the entire thing you're trying to do. So to make this not happen, select everything, go to edit. For as far as primitive is concerned, just uncheck everything. Everything should be unchecked. Now what this does is this. I will no longer see, as you can see, let me do created in this file. I will no longer see the primitive colors here to select anymore. This is only my alias right now. As you can see, primary, state, neutrals. You can see I can't see my primitive anymore, meaning you will not make the mistake ever. I would also do the same thing for my my alias color token so as well, right? Because I am not to select colors for my alias color token. Now, you don't have to do this. If you want to be really strict, you do this, right? But what I do personally on projects is, because for semantics, I tend to add new things. So when I notice I'm using a color from the color token from the alias version, I would, and I've used this multiple times, right? More than once, basically. I would now add that color to a semantic value and then switch it up. So you could also do the same thing for your alias if you want to. But anyways, let's quickly do semantic. Right, okay, just semantic. And then we create. Now, looking at this, when it comes to semantic, right, these are common semantic tokens that we have. We have, hold on. Yes, we have, these are common essential semantic categories. We have our text, we have our surface, and we also have icons and borders, right? So we're only just going to do text, and you could do the rest yourself if you're following along. So we have our text, and we have text primary, text secondary, text success, text warning, and the likes. So this is going to be text, and first one we have is text primary. So we're going to call this text primary. So and then primary duplicate variable. Duplicate variable. The shortcut is not working anymore. Okay. Anyways, so primary, secondary, success. What else? We have warning. We have duplicates. We have warning and error. Success. We have warning. We have duplicate. We have error. We have action. Now, text action means the text is an interactive text, most likely a text call to action. So when you just action, because note this header here, this folder title means text, means this is going to read text primary, text secondary, text success, text warning. You don't have to see text all the time here, because this just accounts for all of them. So all of them are going to be saying text error, text warning. So this is text action, meaning the text is an action item. Now, text on action is different. Text on action is basically what you will see looking at this, for example, right? Looking at this UI, for example, this text, that is the text color that is used for the text dashboard, is text on action. This button here is surface, right? Surface most likely surface action, right? Because it's a button, an action item. Text on action means the text on an action, most likely surface, is going to be different color. So a lot of the times your text on action is going to be white. That's going to be like for your button. So this is going to be on action. So now let's set the colors. So text primary is going to be text primary is going to be from a gray. Let me just say I want this to be like, let me use 800. Then for my neutral, then for my secondary text color, I want it to be lighter, so I'll probably give it 500. Then for my success, text success is going to be the main color, so that'll be, I think I'll maybe do 600 just for contrast. Then for warning, I don't have a warning color, so I'll skip this. Okay, for warning, I don't have something to use for warning, so I'll just skip this. We didn't set a warning color. So for error, this will probably be, this one feels, the contrast might not work very well, so 600. Then action is going to be primary color, most likely. It could be 500. Let me just do 500. Then text on action is going to be white. Now I can use from the brand color. I could use from the brand color. I could use pure white. So I'm just going to go with 50, primary 50. And this is basically how you set your semantic. Now let's quickly set for surface. So I'm going to duplicate text now. I'm going to duplicate and call this surface. And let's see the essentials we have for surface. Okay, so for surface, we have surface primary. So for surface primary, this would be light gray. Let me do 100. Now so we have surface primary and we have surface page. Surface page is going to be overall background, which is the color of your UI page. Surface primary can be identified as borders, cards, right? Cards, sections, containers. But surface page is like, the main page. So this will probably be white or maybe neutral 50, depending on if you want a little bit of off-white. Then surface success is the surface of a success item, which is usually not the darker version. It's going to be a tint. This will probably be, let's say 100. We don't have a warning color. So for error, surface error would be the same thing. I'm going to use 100 here. Now surface action is not going to be dark, it's going to be also light. Oh no. Let me confirm. So we have surface error disabled. Okay, yes, so we have surface action. Surface action is going to be like the main brand color. So let's give this 600. Now for action, we don't have action on action, right? Or surface on action. What we do have is hover. So it will be hover. So surface hover, example, you can see it here. You can call it surface hover or surface action hover, right? So again, action hover. Then you could also have, so basically this is like hover state, and they can also have press state. My bad. You could also have duplicate variable. You could also have press state. So action pressed. So when it's clicked, when that button is clicked, what does it look like? So hover will be a primary 600. This is 600. I'll make hover 800. Then I'll make pressed 950. Right? And there we have it, semantic set. So now let's quickly test it out. So let's make a button. So text. We'll call this. Now before I do this, let's quickly make sure our alias token cannot be used. Okay, no, I'm going to leave it that way because again, when you're creating color variables and color styles and design systems, you're not going to get everything right at the first go, right? You're not going to get everything right at the first time. You make adjustments, you as you go. So you want to have the flexibility to do that. So let's quickly test this. So let's make a quick button. So demo now, right? Or book a call. Shift A. I'm going to give this 24 by 12. Give this 8 border radius. Right, so now let's no. Where is the button? So button, right? All right, so now this is going to be, remember not to pick your alias, right? So semantic, as you can see, semantic. So surface. So surface, I want to be able to see what it is. Yes. Okay, yes, so surface action, right? Then for my text, I'm going to go on to say, now we could do something else. One more form of scoping we could do. Like I said, you always will make some adjustments as you go. Is I can say for my semantic text, right? For my semantic text rather, I want it to only show when I am trying to select text. So it's not going to show anywhere else. It's not going to show when I'm trying to put a color on a frame or a shape. It's just going to only show in text. It's not going to show in strokes. It's not going to show in effects, just text. And we can test that out now, as you can see. So if I click on button again, and I'm trying to look at this, as you can see, I would not see, this is already alias, you can see neutral. I can't see the semantic for text anymore because I'm trying to put a fill. But when I click on this text to set a color, I should be able to see the semantics. You can see semantic and you can see text. Right, now that's working. So we're going to set this to on action. And that's it, as simple as that, right? Now we have a button that is surface action and text on action. Then if you want to make it hover, right, the surface action now will go to action hover. Now text on action will most likely be the same. Or you could decide, okay, you know what, I want the text color to be slightly different. So I'm going to have, I spelled this wrong. I'm going to have text on hover. Right, I can say, okay, I'm going to have text on hover, which is going to be 200, maybe, right? So we'll change this to text on hover. And then this is what it looks like on hover. And this is how you can begin to build on your semantic values. You first set the essentials and then you build from there. So others are icons, borders, and all of that. And these are just practical examples of what it looks like. I'll make sure I attach this in the description below so you can take a look at it. But this is it, right? So we're able to successfully set a primitive token, right? Set our primitive color tokens. We set our alias color tokens, and then we did semantics, which is basically assigning specific color rows to UI elements and decisions that we're making, and you build on for this as you go. right? Based on the needs and use case you're building for, designing for, you can add semantic values to it. And that brings us to the end of the class.